Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the Practical Training Professional with your host here, Mike Bell. Today, we're going to throw it back to just PTP. I got my partner over here, Ryan Gass.
What's going on, guys?
What's up, guys? Today, we're going to do kind of like a hit or miss type show here, right? We're going to talk about what it is we're doing, and I'm also going to pick Ryan's brain a little bit about some of the trends and changes that he's seen in the firearms instruction industry over the past nearly over half a decade. So with that, guys, let's go ahead and get right into it. So what's up, Ryan, man? How you been, buddy?
Good, man. It's been a busy week. Looked at 2 properties today in the Southern Maryland area that we can do some shooting at. And I got, I'm buying a property over there in King George that we're going to be moving to hopefully in the next month or so. And it's been crazy. It's been busy.
Let's talk about that a little bit. So as a lot of you guys out there in the firearms industry, a lot of you guys are listening to this podcast, and if you're listening audio only, guys, head over to the YouTube channel. It's super easy to find, PTPGun.com. That's Papa Tango Papa. All right, PTPGun.com, firearms training on YouTube. A lot of this podcast stuff that we're going to do is actually going to be featured on video over there as well. So, not that we're on Joe Rogan's level yet.
No.
But much like he does, where he'll have, some video stuff up there, and occasionally we'll go to the screen, right? So if you're not there yet, head over there. But if you're watching on YouTube, yeah, just sit back. But, a lot of the guys out there in the firearms industry who are instructors, 2 things, right? Either they own a range, right? Or they contract with the local range to rent range space, right? And I understand that that's something that we could certainly be doing at PTP, but generally, I know how it's done. The people in Maryland know how it's done, but for the country here, why don't you talk about what it means to kind of have those hosts, if you will?
Right. So when I got into business back in, when I first started full-time PTP, it was February 1st of 2016, which is a Monday. And I left my job that I was working on that Sunday. Things had happened, and I left there on that Sunday. And that Monday I woke up, and PTP was all I had. Which wasn't nothing. It was not at all what you see today. What you see today, it took us, 6 years to get to where we're at today. And what you see 6 years from now is going to be totally different than you see today. But started off by doing, the basic classes that don't really require any shooting at all. A lot of the basic NRA classes, a lot of the basic, like for Maryland, the HQL class, which does require 1 live round. But I remember I was doing those for about 2 to 3 months. And in advertising, I was doing a lot of grassroots. At the time, Facebook was a great resource.
Yeah, hold off on the Facebook thing, guys. If you want to know more about marketing and how to really get your name and brand awareness out there, stay tuned. That's the next episode coming up. All right, so make sure you guys are subscribed wherever it is. Make sure you guys are subscribed and stay tuned, because the next episode is going to be all about how to market your brand and get it out there in front of your potential customers. So needless to say, Facebook was important at that time.
Very. It was at least 60 to 70% of how we were gaining our business. And the other things that I was doing at that time, and I revisited at times as well, a lot of grassroots type stuff. Like I would literally print off at the house on my printer, running through some cartridges of ink, print off black and white flyers. Sometimes on like green paper, sometimes on blue, depending on what I felt like that day. But I was printing them off by the hundreds, and I would going out and I was posting them. I was posting them on gas pumps. I was posting them up on doors of restaurants and stuff, trying to, build my brand new business. And I remember I got a call one time from a person who's a host of ours now, and they've been hosts since the beginning. They were my first host, and I will be always indebted to what they've done for me.
Shout out.
Yeah, I don't want to. I don't. I don't want to put out the names and stuff of my host
Okay.
too much and stuff.
Well, let's roll with the what is a host? Right?
So essentially, what I refer to as a host is somebody who provides a venue for the classroom portion, and or more so, I'm talking about the range portion. Somebody that has private property that we can safely, effectively, legally per the local ordinances and stuff, do our live fire training portions at. And anyway, long story short, how it started was the guy called me and was like, "Hey man, I found your flyer. Looks all great and stuff. I don't see where you talk about the Maryland carry at all. Um, I'd like to do that. Can you do that?" And I was like, I wasn't really, I suppose I hadn't done it for PTP yet. And I was like, we can, I'm certified for that. I can do that for sure. But my problem is I don't have anywhere we can do the shooting at safely and effectively and legally. And he's like, well, I've got a spot that you could potentially do that at. And I was like, okay, yeah. Let me come out. I'll visit with you. I'll check it out and see if we can do that. If we can do that, we'll go from there. And obviously, long story short, hindsight. Now we've been able to do that there at many other spots too. And when it comes to a person like that, I refer to them as a host. The host I take care of in many ways, whether it's improvement to their property to be able to keep on doing this, whether it's taking care of them when it comes to their training, helping them apply for their licenses, taking care of their fingerprints, stuff like that. And but that gentleman, he hosted us for that class and everything went great. Not as good as I think that. Hindsight, I don't think it went that good as compared to what I do now. It wasn't bad at all, but like it was good for the experience that I brought to the table at that time and the resources I had available to me. And the guy, after it was all said and done, he was happy. And he said, "Hey man, appreciate the class. It was great. But, if you guys ever want to, you can come on back and do some more shooting here and stuff. I have no problem with it. Big support of the Second Amendment, yada, yada, yada." And, I took that and kind of ran with it to a certain extent. I don't ever try to overuse any one spot, because I don't want to, I want to make sure that I can always have that invite back. So I always take care of the property. I always try to make sure everything's cleaned up. I try to, make sure that if nothing else, they don't even know I was there. That's my goal. And, that one thing led to another. What usually happens is like, I'll be at a class teaching, doing everything's great and stuff. And then somebody will say, "Hey, if you ever want to come to this area, or if you need an extra spot in this area that you're already doing classes at, I've got some land, or I know a buddy that has some land and stuff. You could probably do some shooting out there." And I'm like all about it, and, usually I'll go back out there with that person at that spot and stuff, see if we can safely and effectively do it. And if we can make it work and stuff, then we do. And, again, I always take care of the host, because if it isn't for those hosts, then I can't continue to do what we do. I can't do what I love for a living. And, so like we've got, I want to say throughout the state of Maryland as a whole, we probably have like about 20, 21 different hosts. We have a few different hosts in other spots. We have a couple hosts in Delaware, a couple hosts in Virginia. I actually got a spot that I'm looking at, actually 2 spots. I need to go down and visit down in North Carolina. So I got to look into that. We'll talk about it more later and stuff. I need to get recertified from North Carolina. But that's how we got to be able to do these live fire portions, because what I found was, and I'm not knocking them at all by any means.
Yeah, let's so summarize. All right. So a lot of people, like I mentioned, either they own a range or they rent out a local range. But what you've done is different in where you luckily stumbled kind of across this whole process of somebody else has property.
Yeah.
Right. How can I use it? How can I take care of them in such a manner where they don't even know I'm there?
Yeah.
The juice is worth the squeeze for them, and it's worth the squeeze for you. And it's kind of helped create this business model you have.
Yeah.
Where every, and that's what I wanted to talk. That's kind of the question I didn't mean to cut you off, but the question I wanted to ask next was like, not only are you at a different, and not only do you have these different private locations that you call hosts for your training,
right,
but those opportunities are across the state of Maryland. So you're not necessarily pinned down to one location. How is that kind of separated what PTP does from what everybody else is doing?
Well, because when it comes to using, actual no shit defined publicly owned available ranges, with those, you got to schedule with them. They got to block off that range just for you to use for however many hours or even days you might need it. And they can either do that with you and charge you a certain amount of money, or they can rent it out to the public, individual use and stuff.
Yeah, $25, $35 an hour.
Exactly, or more.
Or more,
depending on where you're at and stuff. And so I found it to be not only more cost effective for myself and then the students, because whatever costs I have, I obviously pass on to the students. Is how business works.
Right.
But also outside of the cost things too, when I'm using these private properties and stuff, we're not feeling rushed. We don't feel a lot of times. I have done a few classes at like public ranges and stuff, but we always feel rushed. It's not the environment that I want to be training people at. Not again, it all taken away from the business, because honestly, I do the same thing if I was them as well. But you're rushed, smaller spaces, you're limited on what you can do. Some ranges don't even let you draw and shoot, so obviously that's good.
Most don't. If it's an indoor range, everything's got to be on the deck in front of you.
Which again, I want to reiterate that I understand. There's a reason behind everything, and I understand it, because there's a lot of people that might go to a range and want to draw and shoot, but they have no experience in doing that, and in return, they end up shooting themselves or somebody else on mistake and stuff, and that's a big liability. So I understand it. I understand. I'm not taking away from those businesses, but what they need to do and what they are required to do, it's just not conducive to what we need to do as well. So we, again, 99% of the time, we use private properties. Again, I let them know, like, when I'm going to go schedule class A, I'm looking at doing a class. We would want to be doing a shoot at your property. It'd probably be in about 4 or 5 weeks, this date and stuff. I let them know that, oh yeah, it's cool, no worries. And a lot of times they might say, hey, I've got a friend or family that might want to take that class. Can you take care of them? And absolutely, I take care of their friends or family members. Sometimes I have some of my hosts, they're business owners, small business owners, and like these big businesses and stuff I've seen, like they have like suites at the Redskins games and stuff. Can you call them Redskins anymore? Is that still controversial?
What are they now? Commanders?
Whatever the hell they
Defenders?
are. Defenders, Commanders.
Is it? I don't honestly, I don't know. What is it?
I don't know. I don't even care. But anyway, they'll have like
the Washington football team. We can still call it that, I think.
Yeah. So, but like they'll have box seats there and stuff. They'll give out, tickets to a game to a valuable client and stuff. And when I find out my small business owners and stuff that are hosts and stuff, they'll say, hey, I got a good client and stuff that I want to, make happy and stuff. I got a big contract coming up. Do you mind if I have a spot in your class for them and stuff? Oh, gotcha. No worries. Just give me their information. I'll get them taken care of. But we always try to take care of those hosts and stuff. And again, that's allowed us to take our classes anywhere and everywhere. I'm limited by nothing. I have a truck. I have a trailer that has all my supplies in it. I just need the space to be able to safely and effectively and legally per ordinances do these training classes.
Right.
And it's allowed me to go anywhere I want.
So a lot of people across the country, they've got a brick and mortar.
Yeah.
And then they've got, they cut like a 20-yard or 25-yard berm in their back behind their building. And that's, if you want to train with them, you have to go to them.
Yep.
And what I found appealing to you, Ryan, before I started working with you was, you're not just like, hey, I'm in Leonardtown. If you want to train with me, drive to Leonardtown. Yeah. You're like, no, I've got a class on the Eastern Shore next month.
Yeah.
I've got a class up in Brandywine. I've got a class in Baltimore.
Yeah.
When do you want to train? I will try to find a class near you. Yeah. Right. You're taking the training to the customer. You're making it as efficient and easy for the customer as possible.
Yeah.
And another thing that I know that you do that maybe you guys out there in YouTube and podcast world don't know, classes are on Saturday and Sunday. Right. Why take, another thing you do is you're not making people take time off work to come out and seek training.
Yep.
And that seems to work. It's different than what you're, I've brought in several podcasts. This is the Practical Train podcast, right?
Yeah.
I brought in a lot of different firearms instructors from around the country. Nobody's doing it the way you're doing it. You know what I'm saying? Not as much. Nobody is going to like
full-time.
Not full time.
Yeah.
Like for instance, we had Lee Weems on, right? He's got some set ranges that he goes to.
Yeah.
But more than one. But a lot of people, they've got one range. Yeah. This is where, if you want to train me, this is where you come. Yeah. And sometimes, you know what? Hey, if you want, like, we've had some really good people on here. I would pay to go to those trainings. Yeah. A lot of people would, but for HQL, it can still carry the stuff that's mandated by the state of Maryland. Making it as easy for the customer as possible, I think there's value added there. And I hope that those guys listening out there on the other side of the microphone right now are picking up. They're like, hey, shit, okay, maybe I don't need to go and invest 30, 40, $50,000 in, and that's just to touch the surface.
Oh yeah.
You know, in a some kind of firing range or buying property, they could start to capitalize on this concept of a host.
Yeah. Yeah. And like something I do run into sometimes where I'm not able to use a spot no longer, whether it's because of a local ordinance might change or possibly, everything was working out great, but then all of a sudden they built a freaking HOA neighborhood that surrounds that spot and stuff. So I found, at times I have to, I can't no longer use a certain spots. I need to find alternative spots. That or I got spots that are very popular for training. So, let's just say, for example, like La Plata. La Plata is one of our hot spots for training. And I don't want to overuse any particular spot shooting wise, like a host spot, too much, because eventually it's going to get more of a nuisance than it is a pleasure per se. So, like for a spot like La Plata, like I have about 4 different hosts in the area, so I can alternate them. So I don't overuse any one.
And for those of you guys listening, La Plata is a city near where we live.
Right. Yep. And then like, some spots I can't use, during, let's say, like the spring to summer months, because they are harvesting, are planting, growing, and harvesting crops. I can only use spots in like the winter and the early spring. I have some spots that I can only use during the summer and the spring because they are hunted heavily during the fall and winter. So I, at times throughout the year, I need to alternate my spots based on that as well. I need to take that into account as well. But it's been a great model. It's worked for me, but I am working on, eventually having spots I own myself as well in these different areas, because a problem.
Then you could take advantage of them. Then you could use them 24 hours a day if you want.
Exactly. I mean, that too, but like that, and like I don't have to have the worry of, what if they build a neighborhood around the spot? What if it's hunting during this time? When it's my own property, I get to choose whatever the hell happens. Right. So I am working towards that goal. Part of that is I'm buying some land in King George that I'll be living on, and I'll probably do a little bit of shooting there. But again, just like any other spot, I'm not going to overuse my spot too much either. I'm gonna kind of keep it out. Someday down the road, I may have my own brick and mortar. That's not out of the realm of reality. But even with that brick and mortar, I'm still going to keep this model of traveling and doing training on the road, because if you just have a brick and mortar, that's all you do, you're limited to who will come to you rather than who you will go to. So I want to keep that model of the circus. That's why I kind of refer to it as like the circus. You'll never see a circus that has a concrete brick and mortar location. They're always traveling, because then they're not limited to who will travel. No one's going to drive 4 hours to a circus, but it happens to move into their town for a weekend stuff. They're going to go to that and enjoy it, take the kids out and whatnot. Right. So I want to keep that model going.
That's right. And it seems to be a good model, Ryan. And so I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you sharing that with the guys out there. There's a lot of people who, like myself, maybe have just gotten into firearms instruction, and they're, they don't have a mentor like you that they can work for and kind of learn the ropes. They're starting out, right? They're doing what they call like hanging a shingle. You know what I mean? And being able to listen to this and be like, okay, there's a model I can use. I've got friends across the state with property that I could go out and use as host locations. Yep. And then all they have to really work on is getting their gear from point A to point B. Yep. Right. Which kind of leads me to my the second video, guys, that'll be coming out here, the second episode featuring Ryan here, coming out soon, with the marketing, right? Just a hint on that, you've got 5-6 trailers with every one of them's wrapped to the T, the mobile billboards, right?
Yeah. Now, I will say, to be clear, for any local code enforcers and stuff, they are usable trailers. Like, we use them for our training classes. One of them even has a bathroom built into it, so we do off-the-grid training and stuff, and we don't have any facilities nearby. We can still use them and stuff, but they are not simply billboards. They are functioning trailers that we use for our classes and our events.
What has technology, not marketing, not Instagram, not Facebook, nothing like that, right? How has technology kind of changed the way that you train, or maybe the way that you're going to train in the future? I see that you use simunition. Why don't you simunition rounds? Why don't you tell us a little bit about what that? Some of those people out there may not know what that is. Why don't you explain what that is for us?
Yeah. So, in the most basic layman's terms way to explain it is, for those that don't know about simunitions, how I first started using simunitions, in a general sense, was in the Marine Corps. We used them for practicing room clearing, stuff like that. The idea, generally speaking, is it uses a lot of firearm parts to be able to do it. With our particular ones, we use Glock 17s, and it has the same frame, uses the same magazines, but the slide and the barrel is completely different. Instead of, if you know what a cartridge is, a casing, powder, primer, projectile, essentially it's the same, except for instead of a full metal jacket or a hollow point, a metal projectile, it has a plastic paint filled capsule. That capsule comes out down the barrel and stuff. It hits its target, whether it's a person or a piece of paper. And if it hits you as a person, it hurts. It potentially bruises you. It leaves a paint mark on you. But it's not going to kill you by any means. It's like an advanced version of paintball. We use that for the one live round that's required by the Maryland State Police for the Maryland HQL, handgun qualification license needed in order to buy a handgun in Maryland. In order to get that HQL, part of the training requires that you load, discharge, and unload one round out of the gun. And the simunition does meet the requirement for that. I know honestly myself, I admit when I'm wrong and I change my mind on things. In the beginning, I was doing just no shit live rounds, and that's great and that works. And I was very dismissive of people using simunitions because it's just not the same. It isn't the same. Honestly, it is not the same. It's very similar, but it's not the same.
Mechanically, it's the same as far as the action of the firearm.
Yeah, but the sound,
bang, the recoil in the wrist,
exactly.
all of that stuff is not the
exactly. Same. And I will say that I know that there are people out there that will just have you shoot a simunition gun into a box of peanuts and shit, which I think is whatever. But I try to use simunitions as realistic as possible. So we'll set up a no shit indoor range, and have a target on all that stuff, and try to make it as realistic as possible. And the reason why we use simunition versus other firearms, actual firearms, is because we can use simunitions anywhere. We can use it indoors. We can use it outdoors. We can use it in a city. We can use it in a hotel. We can use it in the country. It doesn't matter. And that's allowed me to train a lot more areas. When it came to, like, for the longest time there, we were using just live ammo. And obviously there's a lot of requirements to be able to do that safely and legally and responsibly and ethically. And we were using a range in the, let's just say, the Timonium area. And it worked great, and I'm not taking away from that business at all. But for them to make it worth their time and worth their while, it was costing us thousands of dollars a weekend to train students for HQL and just to fire one live round. And I get it. I'm not dismissing why they did that. I would do the same thing if I was them. But I was like, why am I doing this? Why am I spending thousands of dollars in a weekend for these students to shoot one live round? That's just not, doesn't make sense to me. So that's when we got the trailer for the simunition rounds. That's when we got the simunition guns. And we got simunition ammunition, got trained up on the simunitions and stuff. And we started using that for that, and made it so we could do it a lot more cost effectively, and we could do it anywhere and everywhere. There's no time restrictions, no nothing like that. We could do the simunition and nobody knows that it even went off. So that's why we moved into that and stuff. Like I said, like I remember, again, young, dumb, whatever. I remember, ragging on instructors that were using the simunitions in that very same manner that I now use it in, not realizing that came from that ignorant comment that I had made at that point in time. That was based on lack of experience, lack of knowledge, and very tunnel vision. But with time and experience in the business, I realized that that's a necessary evil. Shooting the one live round for the HQL really is honestly ignorant as shit. I don't know why it is a requirement, but it's a requirement nonetheless. So we have to meet those requirements. But I try to do it in the most effective, responsible way
and realistic.
Yeah, that doesn't waste the time.
It's realistic.
Yeah,
it's a modern semi-automatic handgun.
Yeah.
Right. Just like anything else you're going to buy from the shop. Right. Yeah. It has a magazine, a detachable magazine. These individuals have to demonstrate loading the magazine,
Yep.
inserting the magazine, making ready the firearm, putting in a battery, firing the firearm, discharging the round, discharging the magazine, and then clearing the firearm. Right. All the mechanics are the same.
Yeah.
Right. And so I can see how, okay, that's an introduction,
Yeah.
but it is not at all what you need to get prepared to be a responsible, I guess, to be like a responsible gun owner, like with the classroom portion and that, they're getting like, okay, I know how to make sure a firearm's clear.
Yeah.
Right. So if I grab a firearm, I could clear this firearm.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
if I need to.
And like, I will say, like, I'm not at all, and I never will be, an advocate for more restrictions or more demands and more whatever. But the fact that they require one round is laughable. Literally, what I would say is get rid of that dumb requirement. Get rid of it. Because
What would you say? 25 rounds?
No, I say get rid of it. Get rid of it.
Oh yeah, how it's used here in Maryland, sure.
Yeah.
But let's say, how could they make it better besides getting rid of it?
This way. In general, I think it's a good idea to fire more, but I don't think it's a good idea to require anything.
Sure.
For anyone that knows me and understands me and has been around me, whether you disagree with it or not, I don't think you should have to have any training or any whatever in order to exercise your right to keep and bear arms. Not at all knocking my training or saying that training is a bad thing in general or anything like that, but coming to a class, paying $100-something plus, getting a piece of paper doesn't make you a good, effective, legal, ethical person to own a firearm. You could be that already. Honestly, you could be that already without even having any formal training from a certified instructor that's paid his debt to the state and stuff. But again, I think that if you're going to, I don't think that I'm in a very conflicted spot. Again, I don't think that you should have. How do I put this? I'm very careful about my words because I know that especially once things hit the internet, they don't ever come back. But I would say, long story short, I would take away the one live round because it is ridiculous. Just like how during the COVID shit, the state police said that you no longer have to do all the training in person. It can be hybrid. And we, for the most part, didn't give into that at all. We are now kind of allowing people to be able to do a hybrid version, not because of the whole COVID stuff and the politics behind that, but just because I realized,
accessibility.
Again, I understand that, people just like myself are busy. We have kids, we have spouses, we have jobs, we have second jobs, we have third jobs for those that, are actually working productive citizens in the society. And it's hard. It's not impossible, but it is hard to come out and dedicate 2 days to a training course all in person. It takes a lot to be able to do that. So I wanted to be able to have an option for those who don't have the option to take off 2 days to be able to do the training. I want to have an option for them to be able to get the same quality training, but not to spend all that time in person. So now we have the hybrid version that we've launched recently. It's gone very well. Very well. I think you're signing up more people now via the hybrid option.
It's 50-50. It's 50-50. Yeah. It's like it's 50-50. The people, like you mentioned, the people who already know, you know what I mean? They're like, yeah, I'm just going to take the hybrid. But it's not just because they think that they're going to skate the training. Right. It's because they're like, I've got shit I need to do. Coming up into the spring, kids on Saturdays, they got soccer games. Yep. Well, my kids got soccer games. Your kids got stuff to do on Saturday.
Or simply just small business owners that, they're busy. That work 7 days a freaking week, and they can squeeze 1 day out of getting out of work, but they can't squeeze 2 because they've got a business to run.
Yeah, the people that I'm getting this the most from are pastors.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Preachers.
They got to be there on Sunday. Sunday is no-go. And when we train on the weekends, we train Saturdays and Sundays.
Yeah.
Well, Sunday's a no-go a lot of times for them. And some pastors I've seen, and I understand it, they can because they have to have a life outside of church. And because it is church, but it is work for them too. Yep. And they have to take a breather at times too. So sometimes they do take off a Sunday and they do get that breather and they come to training and stuff so they can better protect their flock. But, I wanted to be able to have that option now. So we're trying to do that. So with time and experience, maturity, I've changed my ideals on certain things in life, including but not limited to what training is and what it can include and what it cannot include and how you can use certain tools to your advantage. Yeah. It's on how you do it. It's the presentation. Yeah. I had a bad taste in my mouth when it came to using videos in training. My first experience with that as a student is I was at a particular duty station while active duty, and the gunner was friends with a local firearms trainer. And literally, the guy came in. No shit, I kid you not. It sounds whatever, and I'm not that old, so this does not really age me. But the guy walked in, introduced himself, said, "This is what we're gonna do." Popped into no shit a VHS into the TV. We watched a video for an hour, and he said, "All right, you got any questions? No, okay. Go ahead and sign right here. All right, here's your certificate. Thank you for your money. Have a nice day." And that kind of put a bad taste in my mouth. Like it was just like it was, it was cheating. Honestly, to some extent, not it wasn't unethical per se, but it was just like not a good look, if nothing else. And so I had a bad taste in my mouth about that. But when I decided that we were going to start allowing, not allowing, but we were going to start implementing and using videos as a tool in our classes, I said, one, first off, it's not going to be anybody else. It's going to be me in that video. So essentially, it's the same presentation I was going to give you anyway, firsthand, in person, off the cuff, but it is now me on a video. And the plus sides of that was a couple things. We started doing that when the COVID shit popped off. We did that for a couple reasons. Was we were limited to how many people we were allowed to have in a building at that point in time, and we were abiding by that in the beginning. After that, we started ignoring it, but at least I did. So I wanted to be able to limit how much time that people had to be there in person together in a confined space, because I could take usually a 4 or 5 hour HQL class, and I can go down rabbit holes. I can talk all damn day, and no shit, I can turn a 4 hour class. You allow me to, I will turn that 4 hour class into 8 hours. Yeah. And you're freaking drained when you leave there. You were planning on a 4 hour class, and now you're missing out on appointments you had that afternoon and stuff. And so the great things that I found in implementing the video, not even knowing to go into it, is it kept it more on pace. It kept it right on target. So essentially, a lot of times we'll use the video, and afterwards, it's not like the video is it. We have a Q&A afterwards. You can ask me any questions that you had from the video, and you can get that full, knowledge you were getting anyway, but you get a lot more smaller time frame. I'm able to be more respectable about your time, because people don't sign up for a 4 hour class expecting to be there for 6 hours. So I'm able to have a 4 hour class in a 4 hour time period, provide the same exact material, but with a lot of that unnecessary fat.
Yeah.
It.
So let's touch on two things, right? So first thing, what I'm trying to drive at with this episode is how technology has kind of changed the way the firearms instructors do stuff. Now, we hit on the host stuff. That's a background, guys, into how Ryan does his business, but he pivoted to simunition rounds. Yeah. That's using modern technology. He pivoted to using videos. What that does is it cleans up the class presentation, keeps things tight. We also have to remember that people have different learning styles, exactly. Right? We have to focus on using different, various, when I went down this road to be a firearms instructor, one of the first things I learned in class was using multimedia, a combination of talking, Q&A, slides, video, everything. Hands-on. Exactly. So simunitions, videos. Now let's pivot a little bit, right? So I want to touch on, different ways. So, okay. Once somebody leaves your class, right? If we live in Maryland, right? Maryland has city centers that are sprawling. It's very rare to find good people or people in general that have property that they can go shoot on. Yeah. Right. So how do we take, how does somebody, after they come and they take a class from Ryan Gass, PTP Firearms Training? Also, guys, if you're interested in that hybrid stuff, head over to PTPGun.com. You can find hybrid training there, or you guys can give me a phone call. You guys know I put the number out there, 240-925-5788. You guys want hybrid training? You're in the DMV area, give me a call. But so we've talked about simunition rounds, technology. We've talked about multimedia, the videos to kind of streamline your class effect, technology, right? What other technologies do you kind of present to people or offer to people, recommend to people to use in their free time after they leave the 2-day training?
So one piece of technology per se, it's not digital or electronic at all, but one piece of technology that I've started using in my classes and recommending to other people to use is what's called dry fire mag. That's the name of the company and their product that they have. But dry fire mags, it's kind of hard to explain without having it here. But essentially, on most semi-automatic firearms, right, you pull the trigger, you hold it, you pull the trigger to the rear, you hold it, and let go. The trigger stays to the rear. You have to rack the slide a little bit in order for that to trigger to reset, so you can be able to pull that trigger again and get that dry fire practice. The dry fire magazine, you insert that magazine, and when you press that trigger, you pull it to the rear and you let go, it'll reset on its own without having to pull that slide to the rear.
Hey, dry fire, hit us up. All right. Actually, you don't have to, because I'm going to be hitting you up pretty soon.
Yeah, but I'm not. I want to be a dealer of theirs, not for the whole like business side of things when it comes to being a dealer, but I want to become a dealer so I can get them in cheaper rates, because I want to buy one for every single Glock that we use in our classes. So like when it comes to a lot of our classes, if you don't have your own firearm, we provide one for you. And if we provide one for you, it's a Glock 44 or a Glock 17. Long story short, I want to buy a dry fire magazine for every one of those firearms. So when people are using our firearms in the range, they can get that valuable practice in. Now, dry fire mags, they're not cheap. Last time I checked that, give or take, they were like $100 to $110. That's not cheap by any means, but I will tell you the value is there. I bought my dry fire magazine. I don't want to spit misinformation towards you, but I want to say
right here we're looking at modern. So right now I'm on the Dry Fire Mag website.
Okay.
Dry Fire Mag for double stack. This is Glock.
Yes.
940, 357, or 45 Glocks. It is $105.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, $105 per. And
that's not cheap. I mean, that's not like when you buy a $500 gun and you're gonna buy just a $100 practice accessory. That's not cheap.
Let's talk about it though. So you were hitting on it, right? So what a dry fire mag is it is essentially a magazine you insert into your firearm that has a automatic trigger resetting device.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So it prevents you from having to rack the slide.
Yes.
Every single time you squeeze the trigger.
And that is valuable, because in my beginning of my training career and whatnot, we were doing dry firing classes, and we were, they draw, present, pull the trigger. They had to pull a slide back a little bit or all the way before they go and reholster. So the next drill, the trigger's reset. But what I found, right, is when you're doing that time and time and time again, and then it's time to go to live fire, guess what happens? They draw, they present, they pull the trigger, the gun cycles the way it's supposed to, because you just fire live ammunition. But guess what the students still did? They racked that slide. They racked it because they practiced so damn much, and then they are astounded or like, oh crap, and they found a round dropped out of the chamber onto the ground. And they either realized why that happened or they didn't realize it, and that's a learning curve. But I didn't want to establish that bad habit of thinking that every time you pull the trigger, that you have to pull that slide back. Because I will say that there are some students like, so every time I pull a trigger, I got to pull a slide back. No. And again, if you don't use a dry fire magazine, it kind of reinforces that incorrect information in their mind that, oh, every time I pull a trigger, I got to pull a slide back. With a dry fire magazine, you don't create that bad habit. So that is, while it is expensive, again, $105, it's not cheap. But I could tell you from experience, I bought mine at full rate. I want to say it was more expensive than that when I bought mine. It was like $110, $115. But I bought it at $115, and I've got my value out of it. And I cannot wait to buy more for every single gun I own. Now I own, for the classes and stuff, for the Glocks and stuff, I got to buy about 30 of them. So that's about $3,000. And if I have to in the end, I will do that. But I'm trying to become a dealer, because obviously if you become a dealer, you buy in bulk and stuff, you get cheaper rates and stuff. I want to say if I'm a dealer, I buy 30 at a time, it's like $95. I'm not sure, something like that. But that's why I'm trying to become a dealer, so I can get those for my classes and stuff and save a little bit of money for my company. But I would, whether you buy from me in the future, if I become a dealer, whatever, or if you buy from anyone else, it doesn't matter. Wherever you can get it, because that is a valuable tool, a very valuable tool that you can add to your training. Because especially with nowadays, ammunition's hard as hell to come by and expensive when you can find it. What better to do than to save that money and be using a dry fire magazine to get that same valuable practice? Because a lot of people that I know that are very proficient with their firearms, say they're active, let's say professional shooters and stuff, like competition shooters, 90% of the time when they're pulling the trigger on a gun, it's unloaded. But they're still getting good, valuable practice out of it. Now, if you can get good, valuable practice from dry fire without having to create a bad habit of racking that slide every single time, that's even better.
Well, pivot a bit. All right. So we talked about simunitions using technology, right? Simunitions, videos, some multimedia training, dry fire to reinforce the training you just had. All right. So on that note, I've got a few things. I have the Elms laser cartridge, right, that you can combine, and you still have to rack the slide back each time. But I've also got that Mantis set, and then on the AR, you guys are familiar with the video we did with the Mantis Blackbeard.
Yep.
Right. So dry fire is so important. The only thing you're missing in dry fire is recoil.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, right, your first shot, where people mess up the most in their shot is either anticipation or trigger milk or something like that.
And that's why
right?
I love the dry fire mag. So like a lot of times I'll be on the range with a student and I can tell, not by them actually looking at them, not by looking at them, but by looking at their target. All right. So they're aiming for the X here and their shots are all up and down right below it and stuff. That tells me, by looking at that right there, that they're anticipating. And if I tell them they're anticipating, they're going to, like, sometimes they might say, no, I'm not. But what I can do is with the dry fire magazine, what I'll do sometimes, I'll swap out. I'll take and I'll hand them my gun with the dry fire mag. Hey, it's the same gun, same recoil. I want to see if your gun is messed up. I want to see that. So go ahead and try my gun real quick and see if it works better. And then they anticipate it. The gun's going to go off just like a real live gun, and they go to pull that trigger, and at the last second they're dipping down. And I'm like, that's what you did wrong.
Exactly.
That's what you're doing wrong.
So that's where technology picks up, right?
Exactly.
So you practice that enough. You watch your muzzle drop or your muzzle milk or anything like that. And then you're like, oh, okay. You really, really work on reinforcing the trigger squeeze. And on top of that, you reinforce, everything from the draw to side acquisition to squeezing that trigger.
Yeah.
Because your first shot's the most important.
Yeah. And like, again, we're in a very densely populated area. Not everyone has area they can just go out and go shooting. Not everyone has the time to go out and drive half an hour to a range and stuff. So you can literally unload, make sure your firearm's clear, separate the ammunition from your firearm. You can go ahead and insert your dry fire magazine, and you could practice drawing, pressing that trigger, all right, resetting the trigger, letting the trigger all the way out, put it figure back on that frame, reholster, and you can practice that many times in your basement, in your home, anywhere, and not have to spend a single dime on ammunition, and not have to worry about, where's my rounds going, that. You can get that good, valuable training in your home. It doesn't matter what city or state you're in, and not to spend a boatload of money on ammunition that's hard to find.
All right, so I had some other stuff here I wanted to hit on, man, but this conversation went in a pretty cool direction. I think it's going to be really valuable for people who are listening to this podcast, who just want to kind of get an idea on maybe how to become a firearms instructor, but also ways that you could work on your own stuff, right? I wanted to talk about some other things, guys. Stay tuned. We're going to bring Ryan on for another couple of episodes, guys. So stay tuned. Make sure you guys are subscribed, not only on Amazon or Spotify, where you guys find your podcast. Head over to YouTube, PTPGun.com, firearms training. Subscribe to us there. If you would rather see us talk in person, find us there. Also, head over to PTPGun.com, and subscribe to the blog. But
also, I want to give a quick plug to myself on the TikTok. We're currently in TikTok jail right now. But go ahead, regardless of we're in TikTok jail or not, go to TikTok and find us at PTPGun. I put a lot of good information there. I'm going to try to do more towards this type of stuff too. But I do a lot on there when it comes to law and what is legal and what's not. And I explain to you and show you exactly what is what. So if you can, hit us up on TikTok at PTPGun, or me personally when PTPGun is not in TikTok jail, find me, Ryan R. Gass, again on TikTok platform.
Oh yeah, guys. Last thing I want to hit on, Ryan. So with technology, where do you see the future of where the two worlds collide between technology and firearms training? So pause. I want to go ahead and let you guys know, right? All of you guys are already familiar with the episode we did with Josh Logan from Guardian Defense. He has the TI system where he can come and he could do virtual training everywhere. But I was talking to you the other day, and you had a really good kind of cool idea where technology meets firearms instruction. Where do you see the future of where technology meets firearms instruction?
One, I see that there's a future where they eventually will be able to incorporate, and I'm not the technology guy by any means, or IT and stuff, but I'd like to see how we can incorporate simunitions with VR technology. So again, I don't know how this happens and stuff. I'm not the engineer behind it. That'd be more your thing and stuff. But
I am an engineer.
yeah, he is an engineer, and depending on what day it is, he's a scientist too.
That's right.
So, but no, I want to see where we can incorporate simunitions and VR technology, so you're still able to draw and reholster your firearm. You're still able to discharge it in a simunition realm, but be able to use it so that it speaks and communicates with a VR system. So imagine if you don't know what VR is and stuff. I'm not deeply into it and stuff, but like, what was it, back at Christmas time we were together and stuff. And were you there when we were playing the boxing game and stuff?
Yeah, my son's Oculus.
Yeah, Oculus.
Oculus. Yeah.
So like, essentially I was playing an Oculus system. It goes in your head and stuff, and it's very 3D and virtual reality. That's what VR is short for. And I want to find a way where instead of you're punching and doing this and stuff, you actually are drawing and shooting your simunition gun and be able to use it, and it communicates with your VR system, and you can practice room clearing. You can practice home defense scenarios. You can practice, what to do in these different scenarios without actually having to do it, without actually having to shoot a person, without actually having to get shot and stuff. But you get the virtual reality of it, and you can understand, all right, if I'm in a situation like this, how should I react? And you can react wrong in a VR system, and you can lose, but you can learn from it without having to lose your life.
That's right.
And that's what I see eventually coming down the road. How long, I don't know. And if there's any people that work in that type of realm and they want to work with us and try to figure that out, I'd love to figure that out, because that could be a very valuable tool to bring to this industry. There are systems out there that are similar to that. They use like airsoft guns, and they have like a 3D screen and stuff you look at. But I think it'd be a lot more different than if you actually have a headset on and it looks like you're real. You're looking, you're in a scenario and stuff. Like, say from a non-training aspect, from a non-self-defense aspect. Imagine if you could, pick up a gun and you are inside of Call of Duty, and you're acting that stuff out, and you're learning what you did wrong and stuff. But again, not in a Call of Duty aspect, but in a self-defense aspect, and a home defense aspect, and hey, what if we could set it up? Imagine, this is going to come with time. This will happen with time, I'm sure. Imagine if we could say, oh, okay, you own the Wawa. Okay, well, here's your Wawa. All right, boom, you're behind your counter, and oh shit, somebody came in and they're robbing a place and stuff. They have a gun pointed towards, this person. Blah. How are you going to react? And you get to actually react in your business or in your home. And you get to see it, feel it, smell it.
Yeah.
You get to shoot it. You feel the recoil of the gun and stuff. There will be a time when that's going to come. Like, it's undeniable. But how soon, I don't know. But I want to obviously be a part of that,
so you
journey.
You think that's the future?
I think so. I think
that'd be really freaking cool, man.
It will be. When it comes, it will be. I mean, it's where training was 20 years ago compared to now. Imagine what 20 years from now is going to look like. That's going to be nuts. And I'm excited for it. And it can't come quick enough, really.
All right, guys. So with that, I think we're going to call an end to this little podcast. Ryan, thanks for coming in, man.
Yeah.
We couldn't do it. This wouldn't be here without you. So
yeah,
we really appreciate you.
I love it.
Guys out there, make sure you guys drop down, hit that subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube. If you're audio only, please do us a favor and rate. If you're on Apple, give us 5 stars. It really does help to take us to that next level.
Yep.
So with that, guys.
And if you're already subscribed on YouTube or TikTok, whatever, and you're watching these videos, hit that thumbs up button, comment below. Seriously, if you have questions and stuff, you have thoughts and stuff, comment below, and we will respond to those comments. That's where these dialogues kind of come from. Some of these discussions we have are based on comments we see in our YouTube and our TikToks. I know my TikTok and stuff, I'm relatively new to it and stuff, but like a lot of times I'll respond to somebody's comment with a video to talk about what they brought up, because what you guys think about and what you guys ask about is important. And if we don't address them head on, then what are we doing to help you? So we want to be able to help you by you engaging with us. Let us know what your thoughts are. Hit us up in the comments. Hit that thumbs up button, because it all really helps with the algorithms out there.
Yeah, that's right, guys. Ryan said it the best, man. Interactions is where this is going to come from, and us being able to help you. We don't know what to help with. We don't know what to talk about if you guys are giving us that feedback.
Yep.
So with that, guys, as always, learn, defend, prevail. We're out.
Stay strapped and get clapped.
Deuces.